but I'm currently crying because I think I actually am a lesbian, and it's not bad to be a lesbian. I just didn't think I was. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm a lesbian. There was a lot to unpack when I realized I was a lesbian. I was very repressed. And I think it might be beneficial for me to go through my sort of sexual awakening, I guess. It is so hard to know that you're a lesbian. It is very difficult. And no one told me that. So I'm gonna tell whoever watches this video, I'm now telling you, it is very hard to know that you're a lesbian. First of all, in hindsight, it's really obvious. And I'm gonna take us all the way back to high school. In high school, if I went to a party, I would kiss a lot of girls because I'm a lesbian, but back then I was just doing it for fun. That was that was okay, almost. Like, I felt like it was okay for me to kiss a bunch of girls and then tell everybody that I was straight. That's what I did. And it was very confusing for all of my gay friends because I wasn't straight and I was just kind of normalizing girls kissing girls as a straight thing, which is very problematic. But I was young, okay? And I don't do that anymore because I'm actually a lesbian. I think that it is quite normalized in our society for girls kissing to be something that is attractive for men, like an action for men, and that's terrible. But as a young lesbian who thought she was straight, I thought a straight girl could kiss girls and be straight. You know what I mean? So when I realized I was a lesbian and I was thinking about all this, I think back to this time and I just remember this moment so clearly for no reason. It just kind of ingrained itself in my brain. I was getting my shoes fitted for snowboarding and this nice lady was like helping me and my friend, and she left, and when she came back she was like, "How are you girls making out?" Just asking us how we're doing with our shoes. And one of her coworkers, a man, said, "Girls making out?" Like that. And I just remember that so clearly. I don't even remember what happened after or what happened before, but I remember that moment very specifically. I don't know why. And that is an example, or it could have been the first time that I heard a man fetishize women loving women relationships. Maybe it wasn't, but it's just maybe it was the first time I registered it as something. Maybe that moment like helped me normalize kissing girls as like straight. So after high school, I accepted that I was actually queer in some regard, and I didn't really like the word queer, and I didn't really like any words really, but I looked at a list of sexualities and I saw pansexual and its attraction regardless of gender. So like you don't really see gender as like the main reason why you're attracted to someone, and I thought that was pretty nice, pretty vague. So I started comfortably calling myself pansexual. And I went through my whole baby gay phase. I told everybody. I got a flag. I got a bunch of pins, put it all over my stuff, so everyone knew that I was pansexual. And I liked the color scheme. I love pink, blue, and yellow still to this day. It's like my favorite three colors together, so I thought it was perfect. And I think it's interesting, looking back, again, hindsight, really easy to tell I'm a lesbian. I definitely looked at the list of sexualities and I chose pansexual as that sexuality, and I think I then morphed my feelings for men into that sexuality as well. Like I just made it make sense for me to be pansexual, even though I didn't experience attraction to men. And yeah, I'm a lesbian. So another interesting thing is like I told everybody and everything, but I didn't tell my parents or my family at all. Because I think the reason why I didn't want to tell them was because I actually wasn't confident in that sexuality. Like I knew I wasn't straight, but I felt like, oh, well, if I get a girlfriend, I'll tell them that I'm queer. And well, I didn't get a girlfriend. So I actually got a boyfriend. So there was no reason for me to tell them. Anyway, having a boyfriend. Something really silly about me having a boyfriend is right before I found out that this boy liked me, I was seriously thinking I was a lesbian. Like, I noticed that I couldn't really ask guys out. Like, I didn't want to ask guys out on dates. I only wanted to ask girls out, and I did. That didn't work out, but I did ask girls out, but I never asked a guy out during my whole being pansexual phase. It's not a phase for people. It was a phase for me, but that's because I'm a lesbian. During that time, I was like only asking girls out and not asking guys out, and I thought it was okay because you normally expect a guy to ask a girl out. Like, I know that that's like old fashioned, but it seemed logical to me that I wouldn't ask guys out because they would pursue me and I could pursue women because there wasn't that like precedent. But anyway, so when I found out that this guy liked me, it was really easy for me to just repress those feelings or those thoughts that I was a lesbian because I was very excited that a boy liked me. So I could just bury all those feelings. Like, surely a lesbian wouldn't be excited that a boy liked her, right? Like, now I wouldn't be, but before I was sure about my sexuality, I was very excited that a boy liked me. It's very validating that a boy likes you. Since I knew he liked me, I decided I was going to ask him out. And I made this decision in my brain, and I was like, I am going to do it. In my head, it was like going to be awesome. I was just going to ask him out. He would say yes because I knew he liked me, and it would be perfect. I was really excited. And then I get into the moment of asking him out. We were in a car together because he was helping me take down a production. And we were in a car together, and I was like, oh my God, we were alone. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the moment that I need to ask him out. And I instead decided to run away. I really wanted to leave that car. And I was like, okay, let's go. And then he said, wait, and he asked me out. That was very exciting for me. But I think in hindsight, when I look back at that moment, I was terrified about the idea of asking him out. When I was dating him, I used to tell that story as like, I was so nervous, I couldn't do it, I was incapable of it, as if it was cute. But in hindsight, I think it was genuinely, I was very stressed and anxious about the idea of dating a boy because I didn't want to do it. Like, I subconsciously didn't want that for myself, but I consciously thought that was exactly what I needed. So that was another red flag, I guess. Or I guess I should say it was another lesbian flag. Like, we had a good relationship. It wasn't bad. We were like both pretty like rational, like healthy-minded people, except for my internal distress about being a lesbian, but he didn't know about that. So it didn't matter. But yeah, no, we had like a good relationship. Like, we loved each other and it was like chill. We had like pretty fundamental opposed like views of the world, I think is a good way to describe it. And I think because of that, I knew that I wasn't going to be with him forever. I think because I knew, this is complicated, because I knew that I wasn't going to be with him forever, I was able to date him longer as a lesbian. Does that make sense? Because I knew that there wasn't going to be like a official set future, so I didn't need to leave him. I didn't need to run away from him because I knew it was temporary, which sounds terrible, but yeah, it's the truth. And he ended up breaking up with me because like maybe he knew I thought that. I was so upset though. Like, in my brain it was gonna last another year. But I think that I'm really glad that it didn't because I'm a lesbian. I dated him for a year, just over a year. And in hindsight, there were a lot of parts of that relationship that helped me. Like, when I was thinking about my sexuality again after we broke up, like that kind of thought about me being a lesbian totally like came right back after we broke up, because it was just on pause really for my whole relationship, and then it just came right back. And so I started thinking about it more, and I started thinking about it in relation to me dating a boy. And I was like, I can't be. I dated a boy. Like, I was in love with a boy. Like, I can't be a lesbian. It had nothing to do with him, too. I'm so scared that people think that I'm a lesbian because he was a bad person, and now I hate men because of him. He's actually a really great person. I realized that I was a lesbian, completely separate from any actions he did. It was fully like an internal thing for me. And these are not things that I told him, but I felt very much incapable of feeling desire for him. Like, I wanted him to like me and like desire me, But when it came to me reciprocating those feelings, I couldn't do it. I couldn't reciprocate that type of affection. And like, it's easy just to write that off as like being a passive woman, just like accepting love from men and not like, you know, you just lie back and think of England. You know what I mean? And that's like normalized. That's like socially acceptable for women to be that way. That's not how I feel about other women though. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that problem about reciprocating love when it comes to reciprocating like sexually when it comes to women, but I do with men. And it's because I don't feel it for them. Like, I'm not sexually attracted to men. And that's just it. You know, that's just it. Like, I was able to build a very good romantic relationship with a man, but I wasn't comfortable with our sexual relationship, and I wanted it to change, and I didn't know how to make it better, and it felt like unfixable to me, and it made me cry a lot because I thought there was something wrong with me or our relationship, and I didn't tell him. I didn't ever told him. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't like we communicated this. Like, we were pretty bad at communicating, and we talked about how we're bad at communicating, but I still wasn't capable. I wasn't capable of communicating this because I didn't understand it myself, and it was very upsetting for me, and it didn't make sense to me. And so it was quite a relief when we did break up, and when he broke up with me, and I could just take a second and not feel that stress anymore, because it was so buried, so deep. Like, I didn't want to be a lesbian. Like, I genuinely didn't. So it was very buried. I watched ContraPoint's video on shame, and she talks about when she realized she was a lesbian, she was also dating a boy, and it's very interesting, and I think you should watch it. But at this clip right here, when I watched this, that's when I turned off my phone and just started crying because I realized that I was a lesbian. Like, that section. Like, I didn't even finish the video, I didn't watch it all the way through. Like, that's what made me realize that I was a lesbian. I'm just gonna show it.
You know, there's a difference between I want you and I like that you want me. But for a long time, I confused one for the other. And one reason I was able to do that is that the normative sexual role for women is to be pursued, possessed, desired, seduced, dominated by men. It's all very passive, and in most of the sexual encounters I've had with men, I've taken a very submissive role. Sometimes I just submit to the glower and let them do things to me. And I do think that the thrill of being desired is a valid thing to want. I like that feeling myself, and I do genuinely enjoy taking on a more submissive role sometimes, but you have to go about it thoughtfully, because if you don't, sexual submission can be a way to avoid confronting what your desires actually are.
I very much felt like I passively liked men, while for women, I actively liked women. And I think I came up with this really good reason for it, and it was that women are sexualized in media, so obviously I would over-sexualize women and feel like I could objectify them in that way. Whereas men aren't really objectified in media, so I was physically incapable of objectifying them in that way and could only be objectified by them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And like, that's like, it was a social thing. Like, it wasn't who I was as a person being gay. It was like a social like construct that is making me objectify women. But I'm pretty sure straight women look at men and objectify men. I'm pretty, like, I wouldn't know, but I think they're like attracted to them in that way of like, wow, what a sexy man. And I was always like, wow, so funny and charming. Don't want to look at him, but so funny and charming. But I would look at a woman and be like, wow, she's freaking gorgeous. She's beautiful as a person that's standing there. She is beautiful. And then, so, anyway, I'm gay. There were a lot of things about me being gay that were very much, I would write off as being like a societal pressure thing. Like, I didn't want to ask guys out because I felt societal pressure for them to ask me out and for me to just receive it. And I didn't understand that I was obviously sexually attracted to women and not sexually attracted to men, because I thought it was a societal thing to objectify women. And I would like just write it off as like other reasons that I felt these things that were not related to my sexuality. Compulsory heterosexuality really got me on that one, because I would find any excuse to be attracted to men at all. And just in case you don't know what compulsory heterosexuality is, let me tell you the definition. Compulsory heterosexuality, often shortened as comphet, is the theory that heterosexuality is assumed and enforced upon women by a patriarchal and heteronormative society. The term was popularized by Adrienne Rich in her 1980 essay titled Compulsory Heterosexuality and Lesbian Experience. I haven't read it yet, but I will read it. There's a checklist that I'm going to put in the description so you guys can go through it, but basically someone's made like a Sparks Note version of this essay of how to identify compulsory heterosexuality in your existence. I read it when I was, realizing I was gay, and I identified with a lot of them. Not all of them, obviously, but I identified with quite a few. Yeah, it's pretty helpful. I think ContraPoint's video really is what pushed me over the edge. So yeah, I am a lesbian. And if anyone cares, I was thinking I could do a video where I just literally went through the points and talked about how I either related to that or I didn't relate to that. And I do think that would be kind of fun, but I don't know if anyone would care. So just let me know. The thing that is so crazy about compulsory heterosexuality is that I genuinely believed that my actions of like kissing girls or not wanting to ask guys out or feeling uncomfortable in intimate situations with men, I genuinely thought that those feelings were like normal for someone who was straight or someone who was attracted to men. Like, I genuinely thought that was like okay. I think the reason why I was crying so much when I realized I was a lesbian is in part because I like felt a little ashamed that I had, dated a boy and am a lesbian. Like, I still think it's quite embarrassing. Like, I don't want him to know. I don't know why. I just think I don't know. I gotta get over it though. And I also, I think that I was also feeling very ashamed or embarrassed that I was kind of a stereotypical bisexual, pansexual person who ended up being a lesbian. Like, there's always that stereotype that people who are bisexual or pansexual are actually straight or actually gay. They're just confused. You know what I mean? And I definitely didn't want to, I don't want to promote that stereotype. But so I felt like when I came out as a lesbian, or when I realized I was a lesbian, I felt like I was betraying the pansexual, bisexual community by being a lesbian, which is very silly. I just wish so hard that I knew that I was a lesbian when I was way younger. I'm so jealous of people that knew, because I think it would have saved me a lot of stress if I had just known, and I didn't know. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to me. I hope it was helpful or something. I hope it was something, because I definitely took a lot of your time, but I really appreciate you watching. And if you want to see me go through the compulsory heterosexuality points and talk about how I related to those, I would love to do that. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm a lesbian. Here's my flag. I got a new one. It's bigger than my pansexual flag. I don't know if you even saw. I never said to anyone that I was pansexual, but I had a tiny flag, and it's in the background of some of my old videos. And now I have this big one. Maybe I'll hang it up here so that everybody knows. But anyway, I'm pretty confident in my sexuality now, which is something that I haven't felt ever. So, feels good. Goodbye.